Let's step into the world of Charles Henry Bewley, a man born into privilege into one of Dublin's most respected Quaker families. The Bewleys weren't just wealthy, they were known for their deep commitment to peace, philanthropy, and social reform. Pacifism, tolerance, a drive to make the world better, these were the values that shaped Charles's childhood, the air he breathed. But as he grew, something inside him started to shift. Elite schools, new ideas, a world much bigger and messier than the one he'd known. Suddenly the old certainties didn't seem so certain. Charles began to question, to push back against the beliefs he'd inherited. The Quaker ethos, equality, nonviolence, a quiet faith, started to feel like a cage. He didn't just drift away, he broke away. His conversion to Roman Catholicism, his embrace of Irish nationalism, these weren't just changes of heart. They were acts of rebellion, a dramatic rejection of everything his family stood for. It wasn't just about faith or politics. It was about carving out his own identity, even if it meant turning his back on the legacy he was born into. Charles Bewley's journey, from Quaker pacifist to Catholic nationalist, mirrored the upheaval sweeping through Ireland itself. Old traditions clashing with new convictions, inherited values giving way to restless, searching minds. His story is one of tension, of transformation, of a man caught between the world he was given and the world he wanted to make for himself. And that tension? It would follow him, shape him, haunt him for the rest of his life. Here's where everything changes for Charles Henry Bewley. His conversion to Roman Catholicism isn't just a private leap of faith, it's a public declaration, a line drawn in the sand. In early 20th century Ireland, Catholicism isn't just about church on Sunday, it's the beating heart of the nationalist movement, the rallying cry for a country trying to shake off British rule. By embracing Catholicism, Bewley isn't just changing religions, he's choosing sides. He's stepping away from the Anglo-Irish Protestant world of his family, and throwing in his lot with those fighting for Irish self-determination. His family? They're shocked. To them it's a betrayal, of faith, of class, of everything the Bewley name stands for. But for Charles it's a new beginning. He's found a vision of Ireland that feels true to him, Catholic, independent, sovereign. And he's not content to just sit on the sidelines. He dives into nationalist politics, using his legal training and sharp tongue to become a force in the movement. Debates, speeches, support for independence, he's all in. It comes at a cost. Old friends drift away. Family ties fray. He's no longer the golden child of Quaker Dublin, but he doesn't look back. There's a sense of mission now, a purpose that drives him forward. He wants to help build a new Ireland, one that reflects his convictions, even if it means standing alone. This moment, where faith and politics collide, doesn't just define Bewley's personal journey. It's a snapshot of Ireland itself, a country where questions of belief and nationhood are tangled together, impossible to separate. For Charles Bewley, the path from Quaker to Catholic nationalist isn't just about changing who he is, it's about changing the world he lives in. And it's only the beginning of the story he's about to write as a diplomat and public figure. So, after all the upheaval, Charles Henry Bewley finds his footing in the law. He's sharp, persuasive, and it doesn't take long for him to make a name for himself as a barrister. But for Bewley, the law isn't just a career, it's a way to serve the cause he believes in. During the Irish War of Independence, he throws himself into the work of the Dáil courts. These aren't just any courts, they're the legal backbone of the revolutionary Dáil Éireann, running in defiance of British rule. By joining them, Bewley isn't just practicing law, he's helping to build a new Ireland from the ground up. Every case he hears, every dispute he settles, chips away at British authority and gives legitimacy to the Irish Republic. His work is practical, adjudicating, interpreting, making sure justice is done, but it's also deeply symbolic. He's showing the world that the Irish can govern themselves, that their institutions can be fair, robust, and just. For Bewley, the rule of law isn't something to be set aside in a revolution, it's the foundation of everything that comes after. This chapter of his life is marked by idealism, by a belief that the law can be a tool for freedom, not just order. It's also a training ground for what comes next. The skills he hones, negotiation, discretion, reading the political winds, will serve him well when he steps onto the international stage as a diplomat. In the end, Bewley's legal career is more than a job. It's a bridge between his activism and his future as a representative of the Irish state, a testament to his belief that real change starts with building something solid, something that lasts. So, 1933. Europe is on the edge and Ireland, still finding its feet as a new nation, is looking to make its mark on the world stage. Enter Charles Henry Bewley, appointed as Ireland's envoy to Nazi Germany. On paper he's the perfect choice. Sharp legal mind, fluent in languages, seasoned in international affairs. For Ireland this is a big move, diplomatic relations with a major power, a chance to show the world it can stand on its own. But the timing couldn't be more fraught. Hitler and the Nazis are tightening their grip, and the true face of the regime is starting to show. Bewley steps into Berlin just as the darkness is gathering. His job: represent Irish interests, keep Dublin informed, and try to read the shifting winds of European politics. It's a role loaded with responsibility. What happens in Germany could ripple across the continent, and Ireland's reputation is on the line. At first, Bewley's appointment is seen as a vote of confidence. But soon cracks begin to show. His personal views, his sympathies start to bleed into his work. Instead of just reporting on Nazi Germany, he begins to echo some of its ideology, letting his own biases color his dispatches back home. What was supposed to be a straightforward diplomatic mission turns into something far more complicated, and far more troubling. This chapter of Bewley's life becomes the most controversial, the one that overshadows everything else. His time in Berlin isn't just a test of his skills, it's a test of his judgment, his values, and ultimately his legacy. The choices he makes, the lines he crosses, will follow him long after he leaves the German capital, shaping how history remembers him and raising hard questions about the price of engagement in a world on the brink. This is where Charles Henry Bewley's story takes its darkest turn. As Ireland's envoy in Berlin, he doesn't just observe the rise of the Nazi regime. He becomes a willing mouthpiece for its ideology. His reports back to Dublin aren't the careful, objective analyses you'd expect from a diplomat. Instead, they're laced with the language of Nazi propaganda, especially when it comes to the Jews. Bewley doesn't just downplay what's happening, he justifies it. He echoes the Nazi line, painting Jews as corrupt, as a threat to society, as somehow deserving of their fate. This isn't just diplomatic maneuvering, it's personal conviction. His anti-Semitism runs deep, showing up in his private letters, his public statements, and the policies he advocates. He argues that Ireland is too generous to Jewish refugees, criticizes international efforts to help them, and consistently minimizes the horror unfolding in Germany. Inside the Irish government, alarm bells start ringing. Bewley's actions aren't just embarrassing, they're dangerous. They threaten Ireland's reputation, raise uncomfortable questions about the country's values, and put its diplomatic service under a harsh spotlight. His open sympathy for the Nazi regime sets him apart, even among a generation shaped by upheaval and uncertainty. In the end, Bewley's embrace of Nazi ideology and anti-Semitic rhetoric leads to his downfall. He's recalled, his career in ruins, his legacy forever stained by the choices he made in Berlin. Today historians still wrestle with what his story means, how a man raised in a tradition of tolerance and justice could become a champion of hate, and what that says about the times he lived in, and the dangers of letting prejudice go unchecked. This is where the weight of Charles Henry Bewley's choices becomes painfully clear. As the Nazi regime's brutality escalated, the world was confronted with a refugee crisis. Thousands of Jews and other persecuted people desperate for a way out. Ireland, like every country, had to decide: open the door or turn people away. Bewley was at the heart of that decision. From Berlin he sent report after report to Dublin, painting Jewish refugees as undesirable, as a threat, as people who didn't belong in Ireland. He didn't just reflect the prejudices of his time, he amplified them, using his position to argue against granting visas, to close the door on those who needed help most. His words carried weight. Policymakers listened. The number of visas shrank and for many hope vanished. He justified it all with talk of national security, of social cohesion, but underneath it was something darker, a deep-seated anti-Semitism, a lack of empathy for the victims of Nazi terror. The consequences were real and devastating. People who might have found safety in Ireland were left to face the unimaginable. Bewley's role in shaping Irish refugee policy is one of the most troubling chapters in his legacy. It's a stark reminder of how personal beliefs, when given power, can shape the fate of countless lives. In times of crisis, the choices of a few can echo for generations. And in this case, the echo is one of loss, of doors closed, of lives that might have been saved. After his fall from grace, Charles Henry Bewley didn't fade quietly into obscurity. Instead, he found a new home in Rome, a city of exiles, a crossroads for those on the losing side of history. There Bewley doubled down. He didn't walk back his views or seek forgiveness. If anything, he became even more outspoken, a champion of far-right, authoritarian ideologies. He surrounded himself with others who shared his outlook. Fascist sympathizers, nationalists, people who still dreamed of a Europe ruled by strongmen. Bewley wrote constantly, filling pages with essays and articles that railed against liberal democracy and celebrated the leaders and ideals of fascist Europe. His most infamous work? A sympathetic biography of Hermann Göring, one of the architects of the Nazi regime. In those pages, Bewley's admiration for fascism and his contempt for pluralism were laid bare. Even in exile, he managed to find an audience. Some praised his intellect, others condemned his extremism. But Bewley never really belonged, not in Ireland, not in mainstream Europe, not even in the fractured world of post-war Rome. He lived out his days as an outsider, clinging to the beliefs that had defined and destroyed his career. There was no public reckoning, no sign of remorse. Bewley's later years are a stark reminder of how powerful ideology can be, how it can shape a life and close the door on redemption. His story ends not with reconciliation, but with a stubborn refusal to change, a testament to the dangers of conviction untempered by empathy or reflection. Now then, here's a twist you might not expect. Charles Henry Bewley, the disgraced diplomat and unapologetic fascist, forms a friendship with Monsignor Hugh O'Flaherty, the Scarlet Pimpernel of the Vatican. O'Flaherty is everything Bewley is not: a hero, a humanitarian, a man who risked everything to save Jews and Allied soldiers from the Nazis. While Bewley spent his career closing doors and echoing hate, O'Flaherty was busy opening them, building a secret network of refuge and hope right under the noses of the Gestapo. Their friendship is a study in contrasts. Two men on opposite sides of history, bound by mutual respect and a shared love of debate. O'Flaherty, with his deep faith and boundless compassion, never shied away from engaging with those he disagreed with. For him, even Bewley was not beyond the reach of conversation, maybe even redemption. For Bewley, this connection to O'Flaherty was a lifeline to a world of faith and service he'd long left behind. No one knows exactly what passed between them, what was said, what was left unsaid. But the fact that O'Flaherty could extend friendship to a man like Bewley speaks volumes about his character. It's a reminder that even in the darkest times, human connection can cross the deepest divides. Their relationship stands as a testament to the complexity of forgiveness, the power of dialogue, and the unpredictable ways lives can intersect, even when history seems to have already made up its mind. Charles Henry Bewley's legacy is a storm, controversy, contradiction, and questions that refuse to fade. Here's a man who started out as a rising star, a brilliant barrister, a passionate nationalist, someone who helped lay the legal foundations for a new Ireland. But all of that is eclipsed by what came next. His years as Ireland's envoy to Nazi Germany, his open embrace of fascist ideology, his role in shutting the door on Jewish refugees, these are the shadows that define his story now. His reports from Berlin didn't just echo Nazi propaganda. They helped shape Irish policy with real, tragic consequences for people desperate to escape the Holocaust. When the truth became impossible to ignore, Bewley was dismissed, a necessary act, but one that couldn't undo the harm already done. And even in exile, he never changed course. He kept writing, kept defending the indefensible, never showing remorse. Historians still wrestle with Bewley. Was his early idealism always tainted, or did something break along the way? Can a life be measured by its best moments or only by its worst? His story is a warning, a reminder of how easily conviction can curdle into fanaticism, how the line between principle and prejudice can blur, and how the choices of one person can ripple out, shaping lives and legacies far beyond their own. In the end, Bewley's life forces us to confront hard truths about responsibility, complicity, and the need for moral clarity, especially in times of crisis. His name is a caution, a challenge, and a call to vigilance against intolerance and injustice, wherever they appear.
Step into the past and uncover the heart of Ireland. At Emerald Chronicle, we bring you hundreds of captivating documentaries exploring Irish history, myths, legends, and folklore. Our playlists guide you through Ireland's fascinating journey, from prehistoric Ireland, proto-historic and Celtic eras, and the early Christian and Viking periods, to the Anglo-Irish invasion and the lordship of Ireland.
Delve deeper into the Tudor conquest and religious conflicts, the union with Great Britain and the Great Famine, the fight for independence and the divisions of the 20th century, and Ireland's evolution into the 21st century. Best of all, we keep all our documentaries at 15 minutes or less, making it easy to explore Ireland's history, even on a busy day.
Every time you watch, you're supporting the upkeep of our channel. And when you share Emerald Chronicle, you're helping to promote Irish history and culture worldwide. We kindly ask you to like and share, and subscribe to Emerald Chronicle now. Let's keep Ireland's stories alive together.